Good afternoon. Could you state your name, please?
Yes, Harold T. Elmore.
And what is your profession, Harold?
I was a United Methodist pastor for 40 years, concurrently with being a United States Army chaplain on active duty and stayed in the reserve for 30 plus years.
And where was that?
Well, I served churches primarily here in West Virginia after I'd finished the divinity school down in Nashville, Tennessee at Vanderbilt University. And I became interested in the Army chaplaincy through an uncle who was in World War II as a chaplain. And so I entered the program and stayed in it all those years, took the required courses, summer camp, etc., etc. I did spend 1 year overseas in Thule, Greenland, south of the North Pole, about 800 miles, with some Danish families lived on the edge, and some Eskimo folk who also were there with their dogs and sleds and so forth. And we were at the Thule Air Force Base. I was an Army chaplain with them there. So my years, I retired at a church in Morgantown in the 90s.
Okay.
And then we'd lived in Buckhannon on another occasion, 79 to 84.
Okay.
And then moved back here. And Sylvia, my wife, resumed a teaching position in the County Upshur Board of Education system. So.
Yeah. And how did you get involved with the Buckhannon Rotary?
Well, I'd been a member of Rotary clubs prior to coming here.
Okay.
And it was only natural to fall in again. My first Rotary experience, well, I shouldn't say my first. Through the years, I'd been a guest of Rotarians at clubs.
Okay.
Charleston, Lewisburg, other places. But when we left here in 1984 to Bluefield, West Virginia, the club had a slot for different professions. And one for a Presbyterian pastor and one for a United Methodist pastor. And then all the other professions. Probably followed pretty rigid the original Rotary that you represented different folk, positions or professions. So I became a member there and was there for 4 years. And then we moved, and then I was in the Weston Club for 2 years. We lived there. And then in the Morgantown Club for 3 years. It was a downtown club, large club, over 100 members, but maybe 140 members.
Wow.
Probably averaged 100, 110 at the luncheon in the downtown Hotel Morgan. And then from there, when I retired, we moved back to Buckhannon, and then I became a member of the Rotary Club here. So with 4 Rotary clubs, and now, 30 years about,
yeah.
It's been a good experience. I did attend several district meetings, Morgantown, Wheeling, trying to remember where else, and maybe down at Stonewall Jackson. I'm trying to remember now. But okay, I'll stop with that then.
Do you remember the year that you became a Buckhannon Rotarian member?
Yes, came here in 93 in retirement, and then I think I waited several months before I came into the club, and then been active. 1 year, I took a leave of absence for 6 months. I was asked by the president of the college to be the interim dean of the chapel.
Okay.
So from January through May 1995, I was on a leave from the club there. But
And when did you and your first Rotary club was in Bluefields, correct?
Yes.
What year was that?
That was 1984.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. So why did you? So you joined Rotary because they had a slot for the Methodist pastor. That's correct.
Yes, and I've never seen that in any other club, and that's probably changed now. And a southern town, they had certain things. The Presbyterian pastor had been a missionary in China at some point, and he was a much older person. And I remember him and the club. It was a very active club, of course, and had one African American member, and only to meet certain requirements, I guess, that you'd be allowed. But it was somewhat a little segregated area in some ways there, yes.
So when you first joined in the 80s, were there women at that club?
Oh, no. No. And the interesting about that club, I just remembered this, one of the members who was a rabbi to the Jewish congregation at Bluefield looked very familiar to me. So in talking with him after a meeting or two, I learned that we had been in the Army Chaplain School at Fort Slocum, New York on Long Island back in the 50s.
Wow.
And so we then had a renewal of friendship.
Yeah.
Yes, and he was a wonderful person. And when he would give the prayer at the closing, he would incorporate issues as justice and peace and concern for others in his prayer. And that was a little lengthy at times, but it was good for all of us to have that connection.
And when did you, or which club were you in at Rotary when women started coming into the club?
I would say the Buckhannon Club, I believe.
Buckhannon Club in the 90s?
Yes, I think that's right.
And
do you remember when women came in?
For Buckhannon, I believe it was, I want to say the early 90s.
Yes, well, they were then in the club, a few members, when I came in in 93, I guess, yes.
So be honest with me, what was your opinion on that?
Oh, I was pleased.
Okay,
and
great.
I think that's very important that we have both men and women that make up Rotary, yes.
So tell me, I mean, you've been in Rotary so long now with different clubs. How has Rotary influenced you over the years? How has it shaped you as a person? Would you say you've become more dedicated to service above self?
Well, I'm trying to put this together, Christina.
Yeah.
The organization and the beliefs in service above self, to me, being the international organization that it is, and concern for all persons, I just feel it is a good, broad, that we can learn so much from, even in our local churches in some cases, to be more outgoing and to accept all persons rather than just in a narrow way of things.
Right. So you would say that Rotary principles have been incorporated into your profession.
Oh yeah, well, or the profession had it before I came in Rotary too. And yes, in our denomination, for women as equal to be men and women equal in the positions within the church. Yes, and then the Army background with women chaplains. Yes, and all the issues for peace and justice.
Do you have any favorite memories or events with Rotary, preferably Buckhannon Rotary, that you like to share?
Well, it's been a good experience, obviously, about everything. In the earlier days, we met down at the Visire, now 88 restaurant.
Okay.
Upstairs in the social hall, and we were there for many years. And then when we did the blood program, the Rotary blood work, we met at St. Joe's Hospital.
Okay.
And Bob Brain, Professor Brain from the college, perhaps you would know him or know of him, he was in the club, and I would help him take tables and put them on a dolly. And we'd bring them up the elevator and then swing them through the hallway and set up in the lobby of St. Joe's Hospital for the program. We did that for several years and always worked the blood programs up until a few years ago. And my experience has been that in working Rotary blood programs, I'd go to the State Highway Department out here across from the automobile dealers and work a year or two, and then next year sign up, but more people would come. They like to go to certain places, so there was no need to go there. And the same was at the Tri-County Health Center in Rock Cave, and we had a lot of people would come in there. In those days, it was such a long line up here on the hill at St. Joseph. Some people just automatically go out there because it wasn't as crowded. Then it became a popular thing to where it became crowded, and that was a good experience out there. Yes.
And so what advice do you have for anyone interested in becoming a Rotarian?
Well, we certainly need new members in our
Yes.
Rotary Club. Yes, and I don't want to sound negative, but I've seen a turnover so much. Several dozen persons, or
Yes.
more than several dozen, I guess, who were in Rotary, and then they just drop out or feel that it doesn't hold an interest for them,
Yeah.
or there are other things they want to do. They don't want to be tied up every Tuesday. They're not interested in doing some of the labor, so to speak, to get ready for it. Of course, in the old days, I had a senior active, I think was the title. I'm not sure that's true now, but anyway, you reach so many years in Rotary or your age, and so you didn't have to worry about counting. In the old days, you had to be at every meeting or make up a meeting, and
Yeah.
I've made up meetings at different Rotary clubs in different locations.
Oh,
in,
good.
in West Virginia, and a couple of times out of the state, I guess it was. Yes, and I wish we could regain some of the enthusiasm for new members. It's that folks are just, I guess, so busy with other things. And
Yes.
but at one time, the college relationship, let me say it better, in doing a program to introduce a vice president of the college who was in this building, I looked up on all the names of the Rotarians in the present club, let's say 60 names, and I think 37 persons or names represented a connection with West Virginia West End. Was the president of the college, a faculty member, a staff member, had a spouse who graduated and is a teacher, or has a child is a part of Rotary and so forth. Yeah. So the college, I want to emphasize, has played a very important part in Rotary here in town and made it a very fine local Rotarian club, a Rotary club.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Harold. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, and thank you and all the good work you're doing in your calling between this and graduate school.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All